Why does God condemn us to eternal torment for tiny sins? Does stealing a candy bar or telling a small white lie really deserve hell? It's not fair for a temporary sin to be punished for all of eternity, right? This is one of the most common questions people ask when it comes to Christianity. And so to answer it, I'm going to give you 5 simple analogies that will convince you that God's way is not only completely fair, but actually the best way to do things. Number 1. If your girlfriend or boyfriend or spouse cheated on you, how long would it take for you to forgive them? They only did it one time. It was a temporary mistake, so stop holding it against them forever and forgive them already. Well, forgiveness could still be on the table, but you aren't obligated or forced to take them back if they broke the trust of your relationship. Virtually everyone will tell you that you shouldn't be in a relationship with a cheater, and most good friends will actually tell you not to get back with them since they clearly aren't as committed to the relationship as you are. So this first analogy shows us the reason why God punishes sin eternally. Since sin is a violation against God, it is up to God to forgive you. In fact, sin is basically wanting Satan more than God, as that was the original sin that happened in the Garden of Eden. So just as nobody can force you to forgive your cheating spouse, nobody can force God to forgive you. That's up to him to decide whether he wants to get back into the relationship or not. Luckily for us, God is merciful enough to forgive us, even when we do not deserve it. But hold on a minute, you might say. What if someone is truly sorry for what they did and genuinely promises not to do it again? Then shouldn't forgiveness be considered the right thing to do? I mean, Christianity says that God is our Father. Why would he give his children an eternal punishment? We don't eternally separate ourselves from our children just because they disobeyed us one time. We give them a temporary punishment to match their temporary mistake. Well, yeah, that's actually totally true. But like you said, the key is that the person must be truly sorry for what they've done. Of course, we don't punish our kids for all of eternity. If, for example, our son hits our daughter, we don't instantly kick him out of the house for the rest of his life. We can put him in timeout, or we can take away screen time. We do whatever the appropriate punishment is in order to make him realize that what he did was not okay. But what if the son continues to hit the daughter no matter how many chances he's given? No matter how much we try to talk to him and show him how what he's done is hurtful, if he never stops punching his sister, then us parents have no choice but to administer a punishment that's more severe, to separate that son from his sister permanently until he changes his ways. Allowing that son to roam freely and continue doing deplorable acts is actually less responsible and less loving than doing what is necessary to protect the innocent. And God does exactly the same thing. Anyone who's truly sorry and repents, as the Bible puts it, and turns from their old ways will be forgiven. In fact, there is no line that we can cross to make it impossible to be forgiven. There's no sin bad enough to separate us forever. God knows exactly what everyone's truly thinking in their mind. And so if you're truly set on changing your ways, God will see that and he will forgive you 100%, no matter how far gone you think you are. The thing is, most people don't realize that we don't actually want to change our ways. We're not truly repentant. We either come up with reasons for why punching our sister was actually justified, or we look at others who do even worse things and say, well, at least we're not like them, as if that makes our bad actions completely fine. Most people think they've only messed up a few times in life, but in reality, we continue to sin all the time. We get jealous, we lust after people. I mean, at the very least, we don't take action when people are in need. We either say, well, we just don't have the time, or we need to watch out for ourselves first, or some other excuse. But at the very, very least, we're all guilty of thinking of our own well-being first and everyone else's well-being second. And that violates the 2 greatest commandments according to Jesus. Love God with all your heart, soul, and mind, and love others as yourself. So this second analogy shows us why God eventually has to make the step from a temporary punishment to a permanent one. God can't let people who don't want to change hurt everyone else. At some point, he needs to separate them. And so if someone gets separated from God forever, you can be sure that they are someone who will never change no matter how many chances they are given. Number 3 has to do with the way that heaven works. We all want to live in a utopia of some sort, a place where there's no evil, no suffering, not even awkwardness or inconvenience. The thing is, if heaven is to be that perfect place, then not even a single instance of sin can be allowed in, no matter how small it is, or else it'll ruin the entire place. So this shows us why it's good for God to hold a high standard when it comes to sin. Now, if you don't see how one little sin could ruin all of heaven, then check out this other video we made, which is actually reason number 4 by itself. A perfectly innocent world gets completely ruined with even a single instance of sin because that world can never go back to the innocence it once had. Stealing from an innocent child will then change that child for all of eternity. Now that the child has realized that theft is possible, they will be ultra protective of their stuff and worry about that for the rest of their lives, and they'll pass that worry on to their children since they don't want their children to suffer the same thing. We see this happen all the time in our lives right now. Once you realize that companies can be manipulative in their marketing, that makes you distrusting and cynical of every company's marketing from then on. So this fourth analogy shows us that no sin is truly temporary. Even small sins have an immense impact on people and societies that can last for all of eternity. And like I mentioned before, we commit small sins all the time on a daily basis. Our last analogy approaches this issue from a slightly different angle, as it explains how every sin from all of eternity could be paid for with Jesus' temporary death on the cross. If the cost of our sin is eternal torment, and Jesus took the sins of every single person, then how come he doesn't suffer eternal torment too? Well, in a way, he actually does. Let me explain. Every single day, someone in the world gets kidnapped or beaten or killed or something tragic. But as much as we want to be empathetic and supportive, it's difficult for us to feel strong emotions for people we don't know. And we know that's the case because we don't spend all our time trying to help those people. Now, if a coworker got kidnapped, we'd feel much more strongly, as we've spent more time with them and we know them more closely. And if our children or parents got kidnapped, well, we've spent our entire lives with them, so the situation becomes heartbreaking. So now imagine someone who spent not just the few decades that we spend with our loved ones, but a literal eternity, trillions upon quadrillions upon octillions of years with his son. His son who is morally perfect and has never done a single thing wrong. Imagine a flawless relationship that displays love at its very greatest, being completely torn apart by sin. The amount of suffering the son would go through when he realizes his father can no longer be with him or even look at him because of how sinful he is, that would be infinitely more devastating than anything we could experience here on earth. We can't even imagine the amount of pain that both God the Father and Jesus the Son must have gone through. They were willing to sacrifice their perfectly loving relationship just to give us a chance at rejoining their family because they love us that much. Is that something you would be willing to do for a random stranger halfway across the world? Because that's what Jesus has done for us. So instead of being upset at God for not being merciful enough to our sins, let's be thankful and honor the amount of love he must have had for us in order to sacrifice an eternal relationship, just for a chance to win us back, the ones who cheated on him in the first place. Thanks for watching, and God bless.